somewhere.
I do. Recording in progress.
Excellent. So thank you everyone for tuning in. My name is Adam Astroyogi Sanchez, and I'm joined here with a beautiful being and very wise soul, Beth, Soulfire Alchemy. And we have some interesting topics to talk about today. We're going to talk about some astrology. We're going to talk about shamanism. And we're going to talk about some of the projects that we're working on as we live to serve and uplift humanity, right? That's a big thing of why we're here. So Beth, thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about yourself and, you know, the work you do and what inspired you to want to get on this call today?
Well, that's a big mouthful, isn't it, always, to describe yourself?
Little bites if you want to start.
Little bites, yes. Well, okay. Well, I refer to myself these days, something I just embraced recently is Appalachian medicine woman, because that's where I was born and raised. It's in my blood and my bones. It's just who I am, bar none. And I've studied with a lot of shamans and healers, Taoists. You know, I've studied with so many people. I've been so fortunate and so blessed to have so many wonderful people come through my pathway that have led me and guided me and teach me, and none more than spirit and even my own ancestors, right? So my spiritual journeys in life, which have been many and awakenings, have led me on this pathway to what I do now. And basically, I'm an energy medicine practitioner, but I'm also a teacher. So when it comes to matters of, you know, healing and your own empowerment, taking your voice back, being able to speak your truth, especially for those who have been shunned or just made to feel like maybe even in childhood that they were not allowed to have their own personal self-expression. They had that kind of tamped down or you know, maybe even have been sort of through some sort of trauma or abuse. Those are people that I'm really drawn to work with and actually mostly specialize in, just because you know, we tend to work with as light workers, people that what we've been through in our own traumas, right? So, but yes, I had a near-death experience and a sudden illness that took my life. I don't even like calling it a near-death experience because there wasn't really anything near about it. I was in a life support for 2 weeks on life support and in a coma for 5 days. And I pulled in a vape. There's so many things, Adam. I mean, for your viewers, I would just say, if you're interested in learning more about my journey, you can find that on my website. He'll post links, I'm sure, but www.soulfiremultiversity.com. And I have videos, other videos where I go in more depth on that. But I pulled the innovation out and it destroyed my vocal cords and my ability to swallow, among many other things that happened to me. So on the road of that recovery, I've been blessed with a beautiful voice. I don't know how it happened. I'm so humbled, and honestly, it's hard for me to even say that. I was a singer before I got sick, but I never thought I would have that back. Never. So the fact that it has come back smallly, you know, in small bits, I've had to work on it over the years. It has come back to full fruition to the point where, you know, I'm thinking about maybe doing a little of that on the side. Maybe we'll see how that goes. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the newest thing, you know, as far as healing goes. I have a lot of projects in the works and things, you know, that I want to talk about. But as far as who I am, you know, that's me. I work with my ancestors. I work with other people's also, my spirit guides and my spirit team and all the lineages that I know that have been very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm honored because my teachers have blessed me and sort of, I guess, connected me, for lack of a better term, with these lineages that come to me when I need help for myself or someone else. It doesn't matter if it's in a healing or a reading or if I'm giving a talk or whatever. They just come through, and I'm so grateful and so humbled by that every single day, because it's still, you know, to this day, sometimes my rational mind goes, what? You know, and the rest of me is just very humbled that I can do something like this. And there was a point in time in my life not so long ago, 10 years ago, in fact, coming upon it, when I had this illness that I thought I would never have my life back. So here I am, and I am back, and I'm 10 years out from that. So, and then took a little hiatus for a while, which I'm coming out of now because I want to go back into service for other people and really start doing astrology and shamanic energy medicine and teaching and just leading, guiding, and mentoring people. And that's really what my life is about. It's my mission and my goal and my heart. And that's, if I can ease one person's pain, that eases mine. And I think that's true for all human beings, right? Many times. So that's a long introduction, and I apologize.
No, you're fine.
I always make this joke. I'm very long-winded, and I apologize in advance.
It's okay. We're often, long-winded here, so that's fine. And yeah, it's a beautiful introduction. I thank you for sharing it with us. I think it's a testimony to the power of healing when we get the spirit and the body and the mind aligned finally.
Yes.
Right? When we get it all connected and righted, then the body can actually respond and improve beyond what we might even have expected or what the mainstream tells us was even possible, right? So that's just so excellent. Yeah, and I love that also it's Appalachian, because that's such an interesting connection, and maybe this is part of why we decided, it just kind of happened that we're finally getting on this call today.
You're coming to the Appalachians.
Yes, I'm actually going to be doing a talk for a Starseed reunion conference at the Appalachian Mountains in Asheville from the 4th of August to the 7th. And so I'm going to be giving a talk there about how yoga can help us to contact our superpowers. And that's one of the promises of the work of yoga, right? Is the CDs or the gifts. And, sometimes they call them the superpowers, like, reading people's thoughts, as you open your third eye, these things become available, levitation, et cetera, et cetera. We've heard stories about it, right? But to emphasize and stress, the point is not to get the powers. The point is to do the work, and the powers naturally manifest, right? Because the problem could be that if we're focusing on the powers themselves, it can come from ego, right? Just a craving for power. And we can actually do great damage to ourselves and our own soul's journey, or even others. And so it's not just about becoming more powerful, it's about becoming more fully ourselves to access greater levels of power within us. And in that sense, we're safer, because we're actually doing what our soul's evolution wants rather than what the ego is telling us we need, which is a big difference. I'm sure you know.
Yes, very much. That's been a hard life lesson for me.
It's all of us. I think,
because my astrology.
Yeah, I love astrology for that reason, because it helps to be objective about things and come out of our ego a little bit to see, oh, okay, this is what our soul is about, right? This is our soul's journey, and this is how we can work better with it as opposed to against it, right? So that makes a big difference too.
One thing, if I can interject, I wanted to say about that I feel like astrology helps me understand myself better. And makes me less self-judgmental, because I can be really critical. Like, I've got a Virgo moon, and that's all internalized, every last bit of it. Like, I can't even be critical, so, right? And
I got that Virgo sun and Mercury. I totally know.
That's it, man. So it requires temperance, as you know. So yes, I've had to learn the hard way about that, but I just want to interject that one real quick.
Oh no, that's great. Yeah, no, it's a very, very important point. So yeah, temperance, self-reflection and self-acceptance at the same time. Astrology has been super vital for me in that same way. So yes, I can testify enough to that. But then, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the astrology today, right? And well, not so much today, but this coming few days, and the big one that it's one of the biggest aspects of the year. I think lots of people, if they're following astrology, are probably somewhat familiar with the Uranus North Node and Mars conjunction that's happening on August 1st. And so this is a really powerful time. Let's break down a little bit of those aspects individually and see what that means, right? So with the North Node, we're talking about destiny and our collective destiny. It's our collective soul's evolution and where we're moving forward to leave behind the shadows or challenges of the past, which is associated with the South Node. So right now, the South Node is in Scorpio and the North Node is in Taurus, right? And Uranus and Mars are also currently in Taurus, and they're tick, tick, tick meeting up with the North Node, and they'll all come together on August 1st. So what does it mean to have the North Node of destiny with the two planets Uranus and Mars? So Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius and has to do with our collective energy, awakening, right? Liberation, freedom, revolution, but it's also chaos, upheaval, accidents, And then we have Mars, which is drive, desire, action, fire, right? And so there is probably a lot of volatility in the air these days. You know, I've noticed lots more upticks of arguments on social media the past, week or so, and it's probably going to continue for another week or so at least. But on the day of this aspect perfecting on August 1st, we also have Mercury opposite Saturn and Saturn squaring to Mars. Additionally, we have Jupiter and Chiron both retrograde in Aries, which is the sign that rules Mars and that fire energy, right? So what I'm hearing and seeing and feeling and intuiting from my own experience and seeing in the world, this is about liberating the masculine energy. And a lot of, people might think that that's silly, like the masculine energy doesn't need liberation because it's kind of been on top, so to speak, with the patriarchy. But there's something that a lot of people overlook in that an abuser is not actually better off for abusing. The abuser actually experiences on a deep psychological level, usually they're not aware of it, it's usually suppressed, but they also experience that abuse that they're giving to others when they're abusing, right? So the warped version of masculinity that has come with this inverted patriarchy has actually done a lot of harm to men as well, particularly by cutting us off from natural human emotion, right? And our sensitivities and our ability to connect with spirit, which is, often considered a feminine vibration. I mean, that has made men stunted in a sense, which is why a lot of women might not be so satisfied, because they're like, oh, I want you to be a little bit more sensitive to my feelings or my needs. Why does it have to just be all about the mind? Okay, that's fair. Well, because men are programmed out of this stuff, right? Oh, be tough, you can't show emotion. Well, that's the fallen patriarchy. That does not liberate men. It actually enslaves both men and women, both people. Both genders are not benefiting from any sort of stratification. And now you see with the feminine movement, right? It's trying to come the other way and make women on top. No one's going to really feel better on top, because when you're on top, you're just waiting for someone on the bottom to come and take you down, right? What we are coming and calling into in this Aquarian age is equality, equity, everyone in the same playing field, or at least, the sense of unity between us, and no longer the need to get into the whole divide and conquer thing.
Right.
So the liberation comes from the true masculinity, the full expression of that divine fire, and allowing it to have space in our world, in our society, without fear, because we can also look at that empowered masculine as a threat if we're looking at it from the old place of the patriarchy, right? Where in the new place, that empowered masculine is going to be supporting, protecting, and empowering others. And not just living for ego or itself, right? But there are some things that we need to do to make this happen with that opposite to Saturn and Mercury and the square between Mars and Saturn. There are going to be some responsibilities. We need to step up. We need to stop projecting our emotions onto others. And men do this too, because, everyone basically learns this, because we're not taught to be sovereign with our emotions. We're not taught to be accountable. We're taught that the world is responsible for our emotions, and we need to fight against the world to make it better so we feel better. That's the fallen paradigm, right? So we're finally reclaiming all of this, but it's going to take some work. It's going to take some boundary setting. It's going to take some good communication skills.
Completely.
Say again?
I was just saying it's like a reconstruction.
Yes. So it's not just going to be, all, airy fairy, like, yay, like, yeah, eventually, but we have some work to do to get there.
Exactly.
And on August 1st, we're going to be getting this like kind of lightning bolt, maybe an epiphany on a collective level, or at least on a personal level, of the work that we get to do to bring this divine masculine more in on the planet. And it's already happening right now. It's going to continue to happen. But what we get to do as a collective is to weed out those shadow masculine, or whatever name you want to put on it, right? The not fully expressed masculine, and integrate it so it comes into its full potential.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just, earlier we were talking, a friend of mine during the Capricorn full moon, she's a Cancer, and I'm a Capricorn ascendant. And I was feeling the axis on either side. Now, I know Capricorn they consider more feminine, right? But the thing is that there are times when I feel into the signs, and I can feel sometimes other energy besides just that, right? I mean, we all know the elementals that are attached to it, and that sort of stuff. They do
consider it a feminine sign, just to interject real quick. It is a feminine sign because just to interject real quick.
Yes.
It is a feminine sign because it's an earth sign.
Yes.
But I would say it's the most masculine of
of
the
the
earth
earth
signs.
signs, right?
Whereas
I-
Scorpio is a water element, right?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
also the most masculine of the water signs.
Right, exactly. So I feel like I have a pretty good amount of masculine energy, and I channel that through teaching, and mentoring and guiding, whatever, healing even, but that brings in both a balance too. But that's what we were experiencing, is that she was having trouble feeling balanced, and she was having issues just with her children, and without going too much into it, just feeling like she had her own balance, a divine masculine. Does that make sense? So she felt like she didn't even have hers balanced. And it was like I lend her mine, but I was holding that structural support. And even though it was highly emotional, it didn't matter to me. I felt that strength of the spine, which is Capricorn, and the strength of the bones is just, but that template that kind of holds, not to stop the divine feminine, right? She's powerful. She's going to move wherever she wants to go. But it's not the point is not to stop her. It's to give her a container so she's not destructive. And when you were talking about that earlier, it just hit on that for me. And I just wanted to share that real quick.
Oh, no, that's so beautiful. I'm delighted that you did. It's really great that you did, actually. That's relevant. It's very relevant.
Yeah, and I can already feel the tension of this Uranus aspect coming in. I don't know what it is, but I can feel it. And I feel so many things. I especially feel like, is it tomorrow? Because we have our new moon. I got to get my report up if I'm even going to get one up. I kind of ran behind on some things, but Jupiter retrograde, I was kind of beginning to feel that as well, because I don't know. I'm so tired this week. Could be just where I've gone nonstop for 2 or 3 weeks, but I'll return it back to you now. I just wanted to give you that interjection real quick.
Oh, no, it's a dialogue. It's a, ping pong is fine. Yeah. And one other point I wanted to mention about the transits with everything that's going on, we also have a new moon in Leo coming up very soon.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Right, that's right, tomorrow. So just before this transit, and what is Leo? Leo rules the heart and our self-expression, right? So we have all this fire energy, which is a masculine element. We have all these transits happening with the fire elements and Uranus and Mars and all of this stuff. So again, it's about,
and the sun just moved into Leo, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So much fire in the sky, right, happening right now, and it's about learning how to wield it. Learning how to wield that power, right? Fire is in itself neither good or bad. It can keep us warm at night and keep our body safe from
the tool.
Or it can burn down the house, right? So the same is true with our eternal fire, our essential nature, and that masculine energy that's connected with it. And so with the new moon in Leo, we're getting a reset opportunity for our heart, for our feeling. So this divine masculine energy is really about connecting with the heart. And that's where the divine and the feminine come into balance, is through the heart, right? Through this natural, union of opposites from the upper chakras to the lower chakras. So it's about really living more from the heart and less ahead. And, there's a heart mind too, actually, that's even far more powerful.
Yeah.
So, it's finding that balance within the pieces of ourself and the symbols that we're addressing here. But, everyone's going to find their own expression of this. It's possible to feel a lot of agitation, a lot of, F this, I want to just like give up and run away. And maybe in some cases that's appropriate, maybe not. But for sure, just understand that there's going to be some upheaval for the course of, another week or so, at least, it could be the start of something, but it's for our benefit. It's for our liberation and our freedom on the other side of it. Now, it's not usually comfortable to liberate us from our, self-limiting beliefs and things, but it will bring us to a better place.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, but I love it when he goes, surprise, because it always reminds me of Uranus. Surprise.
I actually love that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was a really good one if anyone's interested. So yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And it's powerful times. It's really powerful times. We can claim our liberation, or we can just kind of, get stuck in the shock of having to constantly change. But, the choice is ours.
Exactly. I always kind of think of also with tarot, it's kind of like watching, if you know these things astrologically, right? you can see the tower coming down, and you can make plans accordingly and prepare to be
Get a parachute.
flexible.
Get your parachute, tie up
Yep.
some bed sheets out the window, we can set things up.
This is plan A, this is plan B, plan Z, and this is my just exit for, play and go away. Play and go away. Not to stick my head in the sand necessarily, just
Right.
to be flexible and open for what comes. And that's hard to do sometimes when people are having a hard enough time feeling secure in these times. But the more open you can be to what could be in your life, I think the better off we are in general, because life is change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that the sign of Aquarius deals a lot with.
That's
because,
me.
it's interesting. I have tons of that energy myself.
People need to understand truly what a shaman is. A shaman is a medicine person. There's somebody who can talk to the spirit world. There's somebody who can heal. There's somebody who can, a lot of times be psychic. They're an alchemist. They know how to take many different modalities and put them together to create healing. And they don't ever think about which one they're doing. They just know them as part of who they are. I was born that way. And so that's one of the reasons I call myself an Appalachian medicine woman, because if I can't refer to myself as a shaman because somebody's going to run and beat me up because of it, then fine. I can't say that I wasn't called a shamanism. That's just purely what happened. And my entire family, like the ones that are not with us anymore, all 4 lineages, right? Got my mom and dad's side, and that's my mother and my father on both sides. All 4 lineages, I had people coming through going, you need to do this for our families. Our family lines need healing. So I found Dr. Daniel Fort, and I learned from him right after I got out of my apprenticeship and finished it up. And because we didn't go a lot into animism and the studying, honoring of Pachamama, Mother Earth, and all of our beloved, kindred spirits, right? Our brothers and sisters, our other than human kin. All of our relations. And so this is what I teach. And mine is what I teach will morph and change, I'm sure, over the years, as do I. But I love to take the medicine wheel and look at it through the lens, or rather look at even astrology through the lens of the medicine wheel, vice versa, whatever. Because the way things that are mapped and they're so interconnected makes perfect sense. And it's, as you and I were talking about earlier, these tools are supposed to be used for introspection, self-reflection, right? But then also for integration, for searching out what our highest destiny is and being able to reach that highest destiny, right? What's the high? And we have many destiny lines, I don't want to offend anybody's belief systems here, because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not an evangelist. I'm not here to convert anybody. I'm just here to tell people my message that I feel like I have gotten. And if it resonates with people, that's wonderful. If it doesn't resonate, that's fine too. Everybody has to find their own walk in life. And I'm one to encourage people to do that. Even if somebody starts up the mountain with me on a pathway, there might come a time when I realize they need to go on their own. And I think that's important, not just in our own lives as our own teacher, but it's important to know that if we teach other people or help other people, right, through their healing. So I'm super glad to hear you're going to be coming to the Appalachia. I wish I could be there. I didn't even know that that conference was going on, or I've probably made plans to come and attend. I know they, first year they were having it, I think that I was going to talk. I was going to give a talk, but then of course everything happened and with lockdowns and stuff, so we didn't get to do that. And a lot of us had a lot of things planned that's kind of got, and now we're like, that's okay, because we rise like a phoenix and then we reassess. And I love what you're talking about with this divine masculine and feminine. And it really is a rehabilitation in a positive and loving way for the divine masculine to be and embody everything that it's supposed to be, right? In its own balance. How do we do that? Well, those tools that we were just talking about, the process of introspection and going inward and looking at what makes us who we are and the traumas that we have had and what we have recovered and what we have gone through and what trauma has caused us to have some sort of pattern or something that is no good for us in our life that keeps drawing in all these bad experiences because of our underlying behaviors. Well, if we don't have these tools like astrology or shamanism, or I don't know, I guess you could anything spiritual, you could pick out. I'm just using those because I use them the most. You could even use hypnotherapy, which I've worked with as well. It really doesn't matter what tools you use as long as they sing your heart home. And when they make you happy and you feel a soul connection, that's when that healing tool is going to work for you. And I love what you said about divine masculine and feminine coming through the heart center. To me, the heart center is the only way it can be. There's no other portal that will do for love and for compassion and for wholeness and unity and equality, like you said. And to take a part of somebody else into you and to hold it with care, but have that person do the same thing back. And my goal is really to help people. I've not mastered this. I'd like to myself, but my goal is to help people master that process of just how they can have a better relationship with themselves. Because one of the things that's so important to me, and I always say this, shamanism is about relationship. Just period. With everything, with everything, with everything and nothing. And I say nothing with fullness because I've been there. And my near-death experience taught me a lot, showed me more than I ever thought would be possible for me to see and come back. It humbled me in a big way. I've had a lot of those over my life, though, as you know, as you've seen. But, you know, anybody else with my chart could be a completely different person. But because of things that I've been through in my own life experience, it makes me who I am. I don't know. I mean, I continue always to work on that self-reflection and integration. But I can honestly say that I worked very hard to become the person that I am, and I'm proud of her, proud of me. And when I look to the person for guidance in my future that is me, she guides me, as does my young child that I often go back and visit, the one that's playing down in the woods, talking to the trees and the spirits and the elementals and the fae and the clouds and the thunder beings. Excuse me, that's what I'm working on at the moment as far as my YouTube channel goes, which is The Soul Fire Alchemist on YouTube. And then you can also find me on my website at www. Make sure you type in that www because it's weirdness. It's one of those websites. So type that in first, the www.soulfiremultiversity, all one word, soulfiremultiversity.com. And that'll take you to all my services, what I offer, what I have coming up. I have Walking the Soulfire Journey. That is going to be a year-long mentorship program that I'm beginning. And I want to do it both locally and do it online. I'm working out how I can do a hybrid on that. I do have a waiting list for it because I had a few people this year, but then, you know, doors closed.
And Beth, can you just share a little bit about, how people can get in touch with you and highlight a little bit of the things that you're doing over the next couple of months and things that you'd like to invite people into? That's so great, Beth. Thank you for sharing all of that and the beauty of the work that you do. I'm also offering some specials here online and for the next month or so. It depends
Honestly,
on
spirit and
my
our
new
own
projects I
spirits
have down
are
the pipeline.
biggest
But
teachers of
I'm
all.
running
People
a special
can guide
on
us
yoga
and show us
and yoga instruction
where we
online.
can find those
moving
golden nuggets
into
of
the
truth
online
and
teaching space
our
for the
wisdom,
physical.
right?
Now that everyone's pretty camera comfortable,
But I don't
we
think
can
that
actually get
anybody
some
can
really great
just,
work done
like,
for
for
yoga
example, if I went
practice.
to give somebody
I
the
have
wisdom of
some
my heart,
special
as
rates
much
that are
as
going
I
to only
want
be
to every time,
available until
my experience
basically
and the
the mid of
wisdom of my
September.
heart, I just pull it out and put it into your
Reach out if you're
heart.
interested in
As
some
much as I would
top
want to do
quality,
that,
industry
I
leading
can't.
yoga instruction for
That
health and
has to
well-being,
be
but also for injury
their
recovery
decision,
and
your
for
decision
flexibility
as
training, as
someone
well as
who
strength
wants
training
healing
and
or
for
wants to
spinal
learn a
alignment. You know,
thing.
we often
Please
overlook
sign
the
up for that
importance of
waiting
an aligned
list.
spine
If you go to my
and how that
services
relates
page on my
to our nervous
website,
system and our brain,
scroll down below my actual
because the
services, you will
spine
see
houses
on the
all
bottom
of
or
the
at the end of
nerves,
the page,
and
depending
the
if
nerves
you're
are
on
an extension
desktop
of the
or
mind
on
and the
a
brain.
mobile
So
phone,
when we're in alignment
walking the
and our bodies physically work,
Soulfire Journey, and it'll
it makes such a
say,
difference
yes,
on
sign
our
me
level
up.
of consciousness.
And when you click
And
that
so reach out if you're interested
button,
in those
sign me up, it
specials.
will
There
take you to a
is
page where you can actually get on the waiting
time
list. And
limit on that
everybody's
one,
on
so
that
you want
waiting
to reach
list.
out before
It'll be first come,
those
first served. So
2 to 4 spaces really
I just want to
is
make
what I'm
people
going to
aware
have.
of
2 to 4
that, so
spaces
that
open
if
for
they
that
want
offer. So
to be in
reach out
on
for
that,
that.
please go ahead and get signed up for the waiting list so that when the doors open back up, you'll be the very first to know. I won't send that email out to another list first, except for the people who are on that list. They'll get it first. Then I'll open it up for other people and make my big announcements. So, and I always leave things by saying, and I will see you on the flip side. Sending you guys so much love, and Adam, sending you so much love. Thank you. I love you. Oh.
Yes, thank you so much, Beth, for being here and for sharing your gifts with my audience and with the world in general, and for the work that you're doing. It's really beautiful. You have such a beautiful energy, and I can really feel your heart in the work that you're doing and the words that you share. So thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and stay tuned for more. Like, comment, subscribe to help get the word out, because, this is good stuff for people, right? Thanks for watching.